The beast reigns supreme in the Middle East. Brilliant, Bagnaia.
2022 turned out to be a historic season for Ducati.
Pecco Bagnaia will be crowned 2022 MotoGP World Champion.
But for their factory riders at least, it didn't get off to the best start. Enea Bastianini raced to victory on the opening night, and he did so by taking advantage of the ready-made motorcycle that he'd been given. His GP21 was already the perfect machine, with them knowing exactly how it would respond in all circumstances. In a bid to improve on the GP21, Ducati tried a lot of different things in pre-season testing, but in the end, all they managed to do was arrive at the first race of the year with very little familiarity of the GP22 motorcycle that both the factory and Pramac teams, as well as Luca Marini, had underneath them. It showed as all the GP22 riders struggled in Qatar. While the Pramac pairing of Zarco and Martin did find success early on, the factory duo of Bagnaia and Miller was still in a spin. Miller managed to grab a podium at round 4 in America, but it was Bastianini that would win again, and it wouldn't be until round 6 in RF until Bagnaia finally was starting to look like his old self. Just 6 rounds in, and already people were wondering if Ducati had given themselves too much of a mountain to climb. After Jerez, we entered into this extraordinary stage of the season where Bagnaia was in a state of either win it or bin it. After his first win of the season in Jerez, he would go on to crash out while chasing Bastianini in Le Mans, win in Mugello, fall victim to a Turn 1 collision in Barcelona, and then crash out at the Sachsenring. That crash would leave him a mammoth 91 points behind Quartararo in the title chase, a gap that seemed almost unassailable. If Pecco wanted to be crowned world champion, he had to start finding some consistency, and his win at the next race in Assen was a good place to start. That brought to an end an incredible first half of the season for Bagnaia and Ducati, where quite clearly they were one of the fastest, if not the fastest, but they were falling victim to still not being 100% comfortable with and understanding their bike just yet. But it was clear they were slowly starting to figure it all out, especially with the Pramac pairing picking up their form too, with podiums in Barcelona and the Sachsenring, and with Luca Marini also finding his feet. After picking up his first top 6 of the season in Mugello, Marini would go on to only finish outside the top 7 3 more times in the remainder of 2022. There was more success for the VR46 riders around this time too, as Bezzecchi would take an incredible first MotoGP podium in Assen, just behind race winner Bagnaia. Heading into the second half of 2022, Bagnaia hammered home the point that from now on he would be a different animal. He'd go on to win the first 3 races of the second half of the season, noting a mentality change helping him to find the extra focus and calm that he needed. Ducati now seemed to have the bike in a place where they wanted it, they had ironed out the inconsistencies, and with Pecco coming into his own, they were a largely unstoppable force. Jack Miller had also found something with the bike to make a jump in performance as well. He picked up 3 podiums in 4 races from Germany onwards, and then would go on for the most impressive win of his career in Japan as Jorge Martin joined him on the podium.
It's Miller magic in Motegi. What a ride by the factory Ducati man.
But Bagnaia wouldn't be so happy, as a last lap crash was a silly and costly mistake, but luckily for him, Quartararo could only manage 8th place. In the final 4 races of the season, Bagnaia was on the podium in all but the decider. Malaysia was easily his most impressive ride of the year. Coming from 9th on the grid, his start was incredible.
Great start from pole position, electric start from Jorge Martin, and now Bastianini away slowly from 2nd on the grid. Marc Marquez immediately slots himself up in the 2nd, and look at Bagnaia.
He's up to 2nd.
Superb start, back at Bagnaia on the inside of Marc Marquez, up into 2nd place.
Then he had the composure to get the better of Bastianini in a one-on-one battle. It was a champion's ride, there is no doubt. It's easy to say Bagnaia was so good because he was on the best bike. Yes, the bike was good, that's clear to see. Jorge Martin managed to take the last 3 pole positions of the season, but also only managed to take 1 podium from those 3 poles. In short, Bagnaia was the one making the difference, and his consistency and speed gave him a 23-point buffer heading into the decider. It wasn't the best race for Ducati riders. Both Zarco and Miller crashed out, and only Martin could manage to stand on the podium, but 9th place was enough for Bagnaia to be crowned world champion and complete the greatest comeback in MotoGP history. He's the first Ducati rider to win the title since Casey Stoner in 2007, the first Italian Premier Class champion since his great mentor Valentino Rossi in 2009, and the first Italian to win the Premier Class title with an Italian bike in 50 years since the great Giacomo Agostini did it in 1972. After a rocky start, Bagnaia and Ducati did indeed turn out to be the perfect combination.
Hi, I'm Bagnaia Bastianini. If you enjoyed the video, hit like and subscribe.